Some race weekends do not wait for the green flag to deliver the drama. At Las Vegas Motor Speedway, heading into the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube, the NASCAR Cup Series garage was already dealing with a major story before a single lap was turned in competition. For teams were hit with penalties during pre-race inspection. Car chiefs were ejected. Pit stall selections were stripped away. And one of the sport's most competitive drivers made his frustration publicly known. This is the full story of what happened at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the weekend of March 14, 2026. Pre-race inspection in NASCAR is never a simple formality. Every team arrives at the track knowing that NASCAR officials will examine their cars carefully, measuring dimensions, checking components, and verifying that everything falls within the boundaries of the rulebook. Teams are always searching for small advantages, and NASCAR's job is to make sure those advantages stay within legal limits. The rule is straightforward. If a car fails inspection on its first attempt, the team gets another chance. But if that same car fails a second time, NASCAR's rulebook kicks in with automatic, mandatory penalties. There is no negotiation. There is no appeal in the moment. The penalties are applied immediately, and the team has to move forward from there. That is exactly what happened at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Saturday, March 14, 2026, ahead of Sunday's Pennzoil 400. NASCAR officially announced that 4 Cup Series teams failed pre-race inspection multiple times on Saturday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The 4 cars involved were: Number 2, Team Penske Ford, driven by Austin Hendrick. Number 10, Colleague Racing Chevrolet, driven by Ty Dillon. Number 16, Colleague Racing Chevrolet, driven by A.J. Allmendinger. Number 24, Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, driven by William Byron. These were not small operations getting caught pushing boundaries. Team Penske, Colleague Racing, and Hendrick Motorsports are established, well-resourced organizations in the Cup Series. The fact that all 4 cars failed inspection twice before the race even began made this a significant story inside the garage immediately. NASCAR issued 2 specific penalties to each of the 4 teams. The first penalty was the ejection of each team's car chief for the remainder of the race weekend. The 4 crew members removed from the event were Eric Bailey, number 2 Team Penske Ford; Troy Langford Jr., number 10 Colleague Racing Chevrolet; Jaron Antley, number 16 Colleague Racing Chevrolet; Jacob Bowman, number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. The car chief is one of the most important figures in a race team's operation. This person oversees the physical preparation of the car throughout the race weekend, manages communication between the crew and the engineering staff, and plays a central role in keeping everything running smoothly from the garage to the pit box. Losing a car chief before the race creates real operational challenges that a team cannot simply absorb without feeling the impact. NASCAR officials ejected the car chiefs of the numbers 2, 10, 16, and 24 teams ahead of Sunday's Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. The second penalty cut directly into race strategy. All 4 drivers, Austin Hendrick, Ty Dillon, A.J. Allmendinger, and William Byron, lost their pit stall selection for the 267-lap event. Pit stall position matters more than casual fans might realize. A favorable pit stall allows a driver to enter and exit pit road more cleanly, avoid traffic during pit stops, and protect track position during the critical moments when the entire field cycles through green flag stops. Instead of choosing their preferred pit positions like the rest of the 36-car field, those teams would receive the final 4 remaining stalls after everyone else had already made their selections. That disadvantage does not just affect one pit stop. It can influence strategy decisions across the entire race, from how long a team stays out under green to how they time their stops relative to competitors. There was, however, one piece of positive news for all 4 teams. All 4 cars were eventually cleared to compete after passing inspection on their 3rd attempt. Because they passed at that stage, the drivers kept their qualifying eligibility and would not have to serve additional penalties once the race began. Had any of the teams failed inspection a 3rd time, NASCAR rules would have required the driver to serve a drive-through penalty at the start of Sunday's race. That outcome was avoided but the damage from the ejections and the pit stall penalties was already done. Of the 4 drivers penalized, William Byron carried the most weight into this situation heading into the Las Vegas weekend. Byron is a former springtime winner at the track, having won the Las Vegas Spring Race in 2023. He was also entering the weekend sitting 11th in the Cup Series point standings, making him a legitimate contender on a track where he had already proven he could win. Byron did not hide how he felt about the situation. While he acknowledged NASCAR's authority to enforce the rules, he made clear that the penalty created real frustration inside the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports camp. Byron said, "It is frustrating when something like this happens before we even get on track. Our team works extremely hard, and losing a key member of the crew for the weekend definitely makes things tougher." That reaction reflects something real about how these teams operate. The preparation for a single race weekend begins days, sometimes weeks, in advance. Engineers work through setup data. Crew members build and rebuild components. Every detail gets examined. When an inspection penalty removes a key person from that equation before the race even begins, the disruption is not just logistical. It is a blow to the momentum a team has built heading into an event. Byron made it clear that the team remains focused on the race itself. He said the team will regroup and do what they always do, which is go race. Whatever frustration existed in the number 24 garage on Saturday, it did not carry over into Sunday's performance on the track. Hendrick Motorsports showed dominant speed throughout the Pennzoil 400. Byron himself had a strong run through all 3 stages of the race. He started 9th, climbed steadily through the field, and delivered when it mattered most. Byron won Stage 2, leading the field to the checkered flag at the end of the second segment. He ultimately crossed the finish line in 3rd place, completing a podium result on a weekend that had started with penalties and ejections. Chase Elliott, driving the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, finished 2nd, coming within 0.502 seconds of race winner Denny Hamlin at the checkered flag. Kyle Larson added a 7th-place finish, giving Hendrick Motorsports 3 cars inside the top 10 on a day when the organization was dealing with pre-race penalty fallout. The race winner was Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, who claimed his 61st career Cup Series victory, a win that moved him past Kevin Harvick on NASCAR's all-time wins list. Hamlin had overcome his own pit road speeding penalty during the race to dominate the field and lead 134 laps. For the other 3 penalized drivers, the results told a different story. Austin Cindric finished 19th. A.J. Allmendinger came home 24th. Ty Dillon finished 33rd. Inspection violations are not unusual in NASCAR, particularly early in a race weekend when teams are attempting to dial in their cars before qualifying. Similar penalties were issued earlier in the 2026 season when Austin Dillon and B.J. McLeod were penalized for repeated inspection failures ahead of a race at Atlanta. What these situations consistently reveal is that teams at every level of the sport are always testing the boundaries of what is allowed. The competitive pressure in the Cup Series is intense enough that even tenths of a second gain through a technical advantage can be worth pursuing. NASCAR's enforcement exists precisely to keep that competition within defined limits. The debate this situation generates among fans is a legitimate one. Were the penalties proportionate to the violations? Or did losing a car chief for an entire race weekend represent too severe a consequence for an inspection failure? The rule is clearly written. The enforcement was consistent. But the impact on 4 teams, including a former Las Vegas winner sitting inside the top 15 in points, was significant enough that the conversation inside the garage did not stop once the penalties were announced. Byron's weekend ultimately stands as the clearest summary of everything that happened at Las Vegas. Penalized before the race began. Car chief ejected. Pit stall selection stripped away. And still, when the checkered flag fell on Sunday, March 15, 2026, his name was on the podium in 3rd place. In NASCAR, the race does not care what happened in the garage the day before.